Welcome to the Building Doors Podcast, where we're not just pushing for opportunities for women's voices to be heard, we're creating them. I'm Christy Harst, voiceover actor and creator of the Building Doors campaign. Join us as we amplify voices, break barriers, and build doors together. Welcome to the Building Doors Podcast. I'm your host, Christy Harst, and today's guest understands both the craft of storytelling and the mindset it takes to build a sustainable, creative career. Tanya D Jones is the founder of Mama Bear Media Group.
Yes.
And Can We Kick It? Entertainment. Can we kick it? Yes, we can. Can we kick it? Yes, we can. And a certified professional coach and founder of Your Life Coach, with more than 20 years producing content for networks like Food Network, Magnolia Network, and A&E. She's helped bring stories to life for major brands. We love that. Now she's helping creatives rewrite the narrative and moving beyond the starving artist mindset into something more sustainable and empowered. And I think that's so key, the starving artist mentality. She's also the creator of Back to One, and why I brought her on today's podcast, an intimate live coaching series for women in media navigating career shifts and reinvention. Tanya, welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. So excited.
I'm excited to have you because it's so interesting in your career, and I want to start off by talking about it. You spent almost 20 years or more in producing content for other people and telling other people's stories, major brands. So what originally drew you to storytelling, and how have you been able to keep yourself in it for so long? Right?
Well, it's so interesting because, this idea of storytelling, which is such a buzzword,
Isn't it?
Right now, especially for Hollywood. I'm like, we've been doing this for a long time. I think for me, I was a sociology major in college, and I just knew something within me, and we talk about this in coaching, like following that voice and your intuition. I just knew that I wanted to be in television, and I knew that the energy of being on a set, had never been on a set, but I knew that I wanted to be there. And then I think from there, starting my career at Food Network and going from there, that was my production 101, because I didn't study communications. I didn't go to school for media. So it made sense for me to go to this new place where I could be an assistant and then move on. And I think what compels me about storytelling is you can tell a story in a 15-second video with avocado and onions. There's a story to be told. And for me, I guess I feel really grateful that I've been able to do that in short form, long form, scripted, unscripted, and tell stories in different formats. So how have I kept going with it after all these years? I think it's really relationships and the people that help me build those formats for those stories. And where I get to engage with people, I get to hire new talent, I get to work and direct or script something. That creative bug is within me. It's in my family. I see it in my nieces and nephews. I see it in my sisters, my brothers, and my mother. So it's already there in my DNA.
And I'd be remiss to not ask this, because we do have a large voiceover community that listens to the podcast and watches the podcast. Are you a voice seeker? Do you seek voice actors in your day-to-day?
Oh, yeah,
okay.
I do.
And then
I thought you meant voice.
And
Yeah,
then what do you look for? Let's say you put an audition. What stands out to you? How can someone stand out? I need to ask this because if I didn't, I would get, a lot of complaints. Why didn't you ask her about that? So
right.
just to give some background, and I'm sure anyone listening knows this, that in voiceover right now, if you audition from your agent or a pay to play, you're auditioning against potentially 700, 800 other people. So how does someone stand out? Your advice?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think for me, I have to come understanding what the brand is and understanding that story and understanding how it all connects. So that's most important. I think for me, I really go on my gut. If I meet you or for some reason I've met you and you're doing it again, or there's something special about you, right? You're warm, our email interactions are good. You're on top of it. To me, I go from the very beginning of maybe meeting you via email or talking to an agent or, reaching out to you directly to the moment that we get into that space where you record. And I would say it's really understanding that the person doing the art and doing that work also gets it. It's like you can feel as a producer and sometimes writer, I can feel that they understand what we're going for, but also if I'm in a session with you, you're taking feedback, you're offering a little bit more, and you know when something doesn't feel right. Hey, can I do that for you one more time? Like, I love that because that means to me, like, it signals, okay, this person came to like slay. They want to do a really good job. They're very serious about the work that they're doing and they want to deliver. When someone says, I just want to deliver what you want, or I want to deliver what you want and more, I'm like, yes, let's do it. For me, it's about energy, and I can hear the energy in the intonation and in the delivery. But for me as a producer, I have to show up like you're showing up because I need to understand what I need to pull for this content.
Great answer. Thank you very much. Thank
Yeah, of
you.
course.
So you've had a successful career in production. When did this idea of coaching kind of step in to this passion? Like, oh, I think I really need to do some like, what was the trigger for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I was actually thinking about that before logging on with you. I knew something was missing for me. And I think it was probably like 2013 that I was like, okay, I love production, but like I want something else. Do I want to go to school for psychology? I didn't think I wanted to do that and spend the money and all of that. Um, but I knew something was missing. And I think someone, to this day, I can't remember who it was, recommended that I become a coach. And I was kind of like, well, what is that? And once I started looking into it and did this like open house call, it was all on the phone, and we all like called into a conference line which sounds so foreign
Right.
now. And I was able to listen into these like master coaches who talked about coaching and then had us go into breakout rooms. And I remember I was in a conference room at work, so I took like a little break
Oh,
and went into the conference room. I was like, I could do this for an hour. I'll put it on my calendar, just block it out. And I was on this call, and I got off the call. I was like, I feel, and I wouldn't have said it like this to myself then, but I felt so at home. It was like what they were talking about around possibilities and understanding that imposter and that inner critic, as we learned it to be in coaching, understanding like that inner critic and the voices that come up and how you have to partner with that critic in order for you to get over fears and create breakthrough. I was like, oh, this is it. I need to be here. I need to really like be in this conversation because it felt right to me. It felt at home. And from there, I had no idea how I was going to pay it because I was like, where are we getting $9,000 from? When I'm like, yeah, for a 9-month training. And that's the other thing too. That's why I always tell people I'm a certified professional coach, because I didn't take a 2-day course. I didn't do like something for a week. I was in a 9-month training
wow.
in person some of the time and virtual some of the time. So just imagine. And it was also like very mind, body, soul centered. So, I think people think in coaching like, oh, you're going to tell me what to do. And I immediately tell everyone, I never do that. I'm never going to tell you what to do. What I'm here to do is to guide you to that place. So I'll help you pull away those like
Mm-hmm.
layers so we can get to the core of like what's underneath that fear. Where did you learn that fear? Who told you that you couldn't do that?
Mm.
And we love to say like, oh, I'm getting in my way. I'm getting in my way. Well, why? Why are you getting your way? What does it feel like to get in your way? Give me a visual cue. Like, what's an image that you see when you say to yourself, I'm getting in my own way? And someone could say, oh, it's a brick wall. Okay. So like, let's look at that brick wall. Let's touch it. And like, are any bricks loose? Like, is there any way you can, like, how could you get around that brick wall? So for me, the training and all of it, like, even in the training, Christy, I like opened up. There was a bit of an awakening for me because I was able to be coached by other peers because we had to do that practice, watch master coaches do it too, which was like, whoa, and be in the room as you saw people sort of like create a breakthrough in a matter of 10 minutes with a coach. So I knew even in that 9-month training, and I walked out of the training like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this because this is really hard and
Really?
I don't know if I'm good enough. Right. Because even as a coach, like I still have that inner critic too. So it's never, we're human, right? So like even the biggest gurus, the Oprahs, the whoever, they'll tell you like I still have those beliefs, those limiting beliefs that keep me from growing, that keep me from taking risks. And what I try to do is, because I've seen it happen in my own life, that's my gift. Like I want to help you do that for yourself, whether it's career, because it's always personal. So we can never separate like, oh, it's my career and it's my job. No, your career and job is personal because you're showing up, you're delivering for somebody else if you're not self employed. And like what happens is we get so caught up in delivering for someone else that often sometimes we lose our focus, our vision for ourselves and for our lives, especially women, especially
I
us.
said it with you. I already knew you were gonna say especially women. I mean, that's a whole different podcast, honestly. We could talk for
Yes.
hours about that. But what I love about what you said leads into my next question, which is this
Mhm.
concept of the starving artist mentality. And I will say
Mhm.
this, not everybody calls it starving artist mentality. Many people
Right.
have not even labeled that. Many people have not even labeled their thought process at all. But the thought process, I
Right.
think, looks a lot like this.
Mhm.
I can't afford that because I haven't had enough gigs. Or I
Mhm.
only got 3 gigs so far in 2026. It's not looking good. And,
Right.
um, you know, I just got an email to do this AI thing, and I don't agree with AI, but it's paying this, and I really need money. So I
Right.
may compromise my values to do it because who knows when I'm gonna get my next gig? Who knows when
Right.
I'm gonna get my next opportunity, and I need the money. So
Yep.
let's talk a little bit about where you see that kind of mentality showing up the most in creatives today, and then
Yeah.
why do you think that this mindset has stuck around for so long in our industry?
Mhm.
Because let's be honest, if you're an artist, if you're a voice actor, if you're an on-camera actor, if you are a sculptor, if you whatever it may be, right? There's
Mhm.
this
Mhm.
there's this built-in cultural idea that, "Oh, you're not gonna earn money from that's not a job. That's not a
Right.
job.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a hobby."
Exactly. Which is so funny. All these things that you're saying, it's like I would label all of those as limiting beliefs. Like, is there truth to it for many people? Yes. But the question we always want to ask when we're being coached, or sorry, when you're being coached from a coach, is what else is possible? So we can look at like, oh, I can't afford this. I'm not going to make as many gigs this year because the industry is failing, etc. But what I try to do with clients is to go a little deeper, right? Like get really connected on, okay, so where is that coming from? Like sometimes the critic or the imposter shows up in what the industry is telling us, what IG is telling us,
Mm,
what your friends may say, but it's also this conditioning that, as humans, we're just used to someone telling us, like, imagine the things that our parents have told us and raised us to believe that just weren't true.
correct.
They just weren't, and I go back and forth with my dad who's 82 all the time. I'm like, yeah, but like here it is. He's asked me, why did you leave this? Sometimes I wonder, should you have left that corporate job where you had benefits and it was safe, etc. And I said, oh no, that's fine. You can wonder that, right? But here's what I did. I took a chance on myself. I took a chance on myself. And am I making that same corporate money? No, not at all. I've come close, but I haven't made that same corporate money. But I think when we are talking about our art, whether you're creative or not creative, but for this audience, is to understand and get connected to all of those scenarios you just discussed. But what else is possible? If you went to one of your trusted friends to say, hey, the industry is really crazy right now. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not booking gigs. Like, I want to give up. What would like your bestie say? What would your partner, your spouse say too? Sometimes we have to get out of our spaces and like go to the people we trust. So go for that support in that community. You want to like almost enter the spaces and the conversations that are telling you things that make you uncomfortable. And I think what tends to happen is the voices that are telling us what we can't do take over, right? You can dwell in that space and you can live in that space, and that's all you're hearing over and over again. But what I implore of this audience and beyond is to step in what else is possible, even if it's like the craziest thing the wildest thing, what could that be? And I always tell people, first and foremost, go to community. What does your support look like? So, like, what are other artists doing? What is, if you're, I sit on a panel for New York Film Academy often, and we talk so much about like tapping into each other. These are students who are about to graduate and go into this world, but we ask like, you know, don't stop creating. Right? We can't stop creating right now. You can't stop telling stories. It's the thing you love to do. You love like it's in our system to do that, right? But then how can you create without waiting for somebody to choose you? Right? Like we need the money, we need to pay our bills. I understand all of that. But like for instance, I just created Can We Kick It with a friend of mine, and it's a live storytelling event that we do in a 50-person coffee house down the block from me. And it's become this like amazing experience where we're trying to develop and build. But that was because there was a voice within me that said, I am tired of waiting for somebody to choose me, to hire me. I'm tired of waiting for a client to call or respond to an email. What can I do right now? And Christy, in sort of this, when we step into that place of possibility, right? We're not going to ignore those critics and those voices that come up, that imposter, but we're going to move ourselves into a place because that place is where we can be the most powerful. That's where your power is. Your power isn't in all the things you can't do. The power is in like what's possible and then how can I get there to create it, to create some breakthrough. And that may sound very like fluffy and like, oh, that sounds really nice. But what I've learned in coaching women now for 11, almost 12 years, 11 years, is that if we took the time to just sort of be still and be in the conversation of, I see how my career has gone. I really want to do this. I really want to continue doing it. I just need to sort of like get still and figure it out. Even if you're writing it, you're journaling it, you're going to webinars, you're in workshops. I say go to those spaces with people who are thinking like you. And communities become this buzzword now, but I don't think of it as a buzzword in the sense that like I think it's a signal that we all do come together and help each other and support one another and be in conversations, especially like this. People need to know. Listen, I've watched my clients start businesses. I've watched my clients get out of like relationships when they thought they were coming for career.
Mm.
What was really holding them back was that they weren't using their voice. They weren't being vocal about women, especially what they really needed and what they needed to do to be free, to no longer be in that limiting space, whether it's the job or the relationship, but to just get closer to who they are. And that's kind of where Back to One came up. It's like, I think we all, especially now with what's going on in the world, it's time for us. I feel like we're being called in a different way. And when I say called, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, something is calling us to stand up in a different way than we have before. It's like
Mm.
level up to what you've been doing before. If you used to apply on for jobs on LinkedIn and you're like going and you would get a job or a gig or somebody would, call you or you're working at the same place, now it's time to do something different. And I'm hearing recruiters say things like, put cool headlines in your email that tell people like who you are. Don't just make it so clinical about your skills or whatever. Tell them who you are. Show up in your wholeness, right? So you can tell them like, hey, I created this storytelling event. Hey, a friend of mine just told me she wrote in her like cover letter or resume that she's a handler in the Macy's Day
Oh,
Parade.
fun.
She's one of the people walking,
Fun.
just like giving a little more of ourselves. Yes, it's authentic. Yes, it's you. And believe it or not, people will find that interesting, unique, and you get to be like, again, your most powerful self. Show up. Let them know who you are. Let them know if you're a hip hop head. You and I were talking about hip hop before we logged on, but let them know these things about you and feel the power that brings for your choices and towards that freedom that you're really looking for.
So let's dive deeper into this limiting belief. I want to give you some real life examples and get your take.
Mhm.
In the voiceover industry, there has been chatter or a belief that if you're not full-time, you're not a real voice actor. If you have a
Mm.
full-time job and then you come home in an audition, or if you have, other things going on, that you're not really you're not a real voice actor.
Wow. Hmm.
Also, from the client side, if you're not a full-time voice actor, as you know, in voiceover, you need things turned around really quickly, like
Yep.
within sometimes
Hmm.
an hour or less.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
if you have a full-time job and I go to your LinkedIn profile and it says that you are whatever, in whatever industry 9 to 5, but you're also a voice
Hmm.
actor, that
Hmm.
as a voice seeker, I may not be that apt to use you or connect with you because I'm the kind of person that needs something lickety-splickety. So
Right.
I am not Miss Cleo, but I have a feeling that, I'm dating myself with that. I'm sure there's people who won't
I
know.
was just thinking to say, I was going to
It's
say both
fine.
of us. I know who
I
it is.
know, I knew you would know, right? Um,
Yep.
it's
Gen X
I'm
all
not
day.
I'm not psychic, but I do know that there's plenty of people in the voiceover industry who do have full-time jobs, who don't
Hmm.
promote that they
Hmm.
have full-time jobs,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
And so that's point number 1 is, like, this mentality of, I don't wanna say I'm not full-time. I don't
Right.
wanna say I'm not because that could limit me. That could, keep me from getting something. And then the
Hmm.
other thing I
Hmm.
wanted to bring up was we are auditioning against 700, 800, 600, 500 other people.
Yeah.
And it can get very, very, I mean, there are people who audition 50 times a day, 100 times a day, whatever, 500 times, whatever it is. And to
Hmm. Hmm.
constantly get the no, or not, and let's be honest, we don't even get a no. We just don't, it's like
Right.
crickets.
You don't hear from them.
There's
Yeah.
nothing, right? And
Yeah.
so you take your craft seriously. You've invested time and money in workshops, and you spend all this time behind the mic making sure these auditions stand out, that they're you,
Right.
you're adding the authenticity, blase, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
How do you deal with those 2 things? This limiting belief of if I'm not full time, because honestly, there's probably some people in the voice acting industry who want to go get a part-time job or even a full-time job because they're not making it and they need you
Right.
on the DL. So these
Right.
2 ideas of limiting beliefs, how would you suggest people in our industry deal with those 2 things?
Yeah, that's a great, great question. I mean, this idea of like the full time and I'm not, or I'm not, it's a shame that we can't just be ourselves, right? And be transparent and be honest, but we also know that that could put us in spaces where we're immediately dismissed. And I think it's like where in the scenario can you be and like sort of set into that gives you some sense of power? Like what is the thing that you own, that you have, that only you can like take care of, right? Because there's so much that we can do. I think that the challenge right now for everybody, whether you're a VO artist, a producer, line producer, production manager, stylist, etc., is it's so unknown and uncertain because things are just happening so rapidly, and you're applying for things where 100 applicants have already applied for it. So I think what happens out of that is that's where those limiting beliefs just start like coming to the surface, and here they go in the voices. So I think you have to hear what you're hearing, right? I think it's so important because you said it, like people are dealing with this, create the conversation around it, talk to each other about, well, what are you feeling about it, and how are you dealing with it? Because I think when we communicate that angst and communicate those hardships, is there's got to be a way out of it, right? We have to think about moments in your life where something was really challenging, the limiting beliefs came up, all those things that you're saying, that again there's truth to it, but there was some other possibility that you either came up with yourself, someone told you to try, or that organically showed up for you, that like gets you out of that space. And in some way, we've all done it. So I always say, like, go to that history of like when you were in that job where like your boss was a pain, you didn't like your team members, like you did something, whether you spoke to someone in HR, whether you looked for another job. But we're so resourceful when we tap in. So like how can I, like, I'm going to put myself in your shoes right now, like with the full time versus not getting those answers, like my heart would be crushed. I would feel less than, I would feel like I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough. I would also feel like what is happening in this industry that is not allowing me a space in. But the other way to go is, what else can I be doing, right? Like, we want to do voiceovers. Can I create an academy? Can I create a workshop? Can I find 3 people who will just get on a Zoom and invite in a community to talk and like and tap into each other of like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing to stand out? And just help one another. But also, like, what else could you be doing? Could you go to your Department of Education in your local town or your school district and say, hey, I'm doing VO work and I would love to, teach, students on like how to do this. Just like go back to what brought you to VOs in the first place, which is your innate creativity, to really, this is what I mean by level up. Like, there may not be one answer. The industry might keep changing, but we have to change along with it so that we don't necessarily have to depend on the external world to pick and choose us out of 1,000 people. But like, I'm going to bet on myself and I'm going to try something different. So you may come up with a creative way to deliver that, you're recording. You may know somebody that you can call. But I think when the doors seem like they're closed
Bring it back
and
to the
we
doors, girl. Bring it back to the doors.
listen, I didn't even know I was going there, but literally when they seem like we can't push through, build your own door. Build your doors, get a community to build the doors. Like, open up those doors wide and let it in. I think we have to just really, we're being called to tap in. I feel that, what you said, you're not Miss Cleo. Like, I feel that intuitively that we have to be doing something else. And what women do so well, and not to say all women are voiceover artists, obviously, like, I know what your platform speaks to, but we're so good at like tapping into each other and like, what'd you do? Okay, you did this. Okay. And it's competitive, but when you find the right people, people are willing to like, okay, let's build something new. It because building the new is building a new mindset around it, right? You're creating new beliefs. So those limiting beliefs, it's like, okay, they limit me. There's a conditioning around that. I don't have to just stay in this space. Let me now go create a new belief. My new belief is, yes, even though the industry is tough right now, it's getting more competitive. I'm not a full time voiceover artist. I can now go and create a community of people where we create our own platform, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
Like, just tapping in, what else can you be doing? And for some people, I will say this, coming out of coaching this group session and back to one recently, some people are like, I might just leave this industry. That's another option too for a lot of people. And I say that because what if you're being called to try something new? To consider that, that, oh, maybe there's like a 2-year break or a year break where I say, you know what, for a year, I'm going to stop trying. I'm not going to apply anymore. I'm going to actually take what I'm doing and see if I could do something else with it.
Mm.
Be open to that. I'm not telling people to run away from it, but to just see like, what else can I be doing with this creativity in some other way? I hope that answers the question.
It does. And I want to talk more about Back to One. Let's introduce it. Tell us what
Yeah.
it is and tell us what
Yeah.
kind of results you're seeing, and what kind of takeaways people are getting from it. Because I think the concept of Back to One is so enticing. And for me, so
Right.
enticing. And I think it's important to let people know that these kind of groups, Back to One, these kind of workshop, these kinds of gatherings, this type of community isn't about woo woo. It's about
Right.
tangible. So let's talk about, just tell
Yeah.
everybody what Back to One is, and then
Yep.
let's talk about what you cover, what the results
Yep.
you're seeing, and the tangibles.
Yes, thank you. So back to one, obviously most of us know what that means in the industry when a director says back to one. It's a signal or a direction to reset, get in first position, do it again, etc. So I kept like, it's funny how I tied it together because I kept telling my best friend Michael, who I talk to all the time about life and career, and he's building as well, that I just needed to get back to one. That was my thing for 2025, was to just like get quiet, incubate,
Mm.
and create. And I wrote on the wall, or I kept saying back to one, like back to myself, just back to one. And then I was like, wait a second, that connects actually with this, what I do in the industry and what I've observed. So that's kind of where the title came from. But to me, Back to One is a signal, and it's an invitation to reset, to reposition, to start again. And obviously, we can do this in so many areas of our lives. I was drawn to coach women in media because I am a woman in media, because I have been in it now for 20 plus years. And I've seen everything from, just like the challenging pressure of being a parent, raising a kid, sometimes raising a kid, like, in my own household with just me and my ex, like,
Right.
raising our son in his household. But for me, like, I just think back to those corporate media days and the delivery and 40 plus hours a week and trying to do the best and having this reputation for creating the best teams. But meanwhile, I wasn't present in my life. Things were happening and I'm jumping out of recitals and getting on conference calls. I could never like be still. And everyone's looking at me like, woo, she must be a bigwig because she's doing all these things. Meanwhile, I wasn't fully present. And I think what Back to One gave the women that signed up, I think we had 20 people say yes to it. It was the first time I've done it. So it's a group coaching session that I lead as a coach. We met Monday nights. We just wrapped this week, the first time ever doing it. And it was women in media. So everything from producers to production managers, line producers, casting directors, marketers, actors, voiceover artists. It was incredible. I did it because I knew, actually, a mutual friend of ours said to me, I think you should take this Back to One thing and actually create this series, because I just had a conversation with a friend and she said, I think she needs something like this. So that's why I did it. And she really pushed me to like do it. And I had to deal with my own imposters and my own inner critics that was telling me it wasn't time to do it.
Oh,
And because she was so careful and meaningful about how she approached me with it, I knew that there was a need, and I knew intuitively, all right, I got to do this. Over the 6 weeks, we had a theme every week. So we started with reflection, we ended with cultivation. So I built it based on my training, based on my experience with women in media, so that every week we were locking in on one theme, and it just organically just shifted into the next thing. So every week we would get on, I sort of give like a little talk about whatever that theme was and why it was important. And then we would do some exercises, go into breakout rooms. So like, what are you looking to shift right now and why? And what's possible? And with that possibility, who's going to show up for you? What does your support team look like? So there was always this like questioning. And I think, I'd be remiss to not say this in this conversation. Coaching is not about telling you what to do. It is asking empowering questions for you to think about, for you to sit with, and then start to pull out the answers and the discoveries and the gems yourself. A good coach will guide you to do that. So I'm looking at like how you're saying it, the breath you take before you say it. You might laugh right before you answer me, and I may take that cue as like, why'd you laugh? Or like, what's hesitating? What's coming up for you? What's landing for you, to get somebody to connect with what am I feeling about this and what do I believe about it? And then what are my values? What if you go to values and you really have a strong understanding of what you value for yourself, for your family, for your community, for your career, that is the beginning of your freedom and the steps towards that breakthrough. So if you value your time with your family, you can say to like your team, you can say to a boss at 6 p.m., like, I really have to like center my life with my family. I need to be present. I'm going to log off. Is that okay? Can we talk about it? Can we compromise about that timing? But to really stand up and have that voice. During the series, we had trusted voices, right? So these are women that I've known who have been in executive roles, who have pivoted themselves around their career. So they came on as guests, almost like guest speakers. We call them trusted voices. And they were able to share their stories of pivots, their challenges, and from, where they are right now, what are they seeing sort of shifting in the industry, but how have they dealt with their limiting beliefs? So it was really sort of like storytelling woven throughout,
mm,
down to the last one, which was cultivate. We had a recruiter come on, And she was really there to talk about the tangible, to give us some little nuggets about, like, when you're out there telling your story and your narrative about your career, what are some things that you can do to stand out based on her recruiter, perspective? What was she seeing, but also, like, what does she like to see? And she was one of the people who said, tell me, I want to, like, I love to see personality. Give me something funny about
Mm,
you. Like, maybe make your email headline this instead of just like job
right.
role interesting. So those were tangible things. And also this idea of writing things down. So we did a lot of future you envisioning exercises where someone could talk about, like, okay, what's the thing that's top of mind for you that you want to activate? So one of our weeks was activate. What would you like to activate? Why do you want to activate? And what's like the first thing you can do to begin? And then how can we support you? What does your community and your support look like? So it's like getting these women to really connect. And I always say, like, I love to write things down rather than just type it in, because I think there's something sacred. And obviously, in terms of like memory and memory muscle, we know through research that that's the way we get to remember things, etc. But to hear yourself talk about it, that's another thing too, is like that activates the vision, that activates, when you can close your eyes and actually think about, what is it that I really want and how can I do it and what do I see? And a couple of the meditations we did in the one-to-one session. So throughout Back to One, there was a group session every Monday night for 6 weeks, but then each woman was coached by me one-to-one. And Christy, when I tell you, those one-to-one sessions where they got to meet the critic and partner with the critic and tell me what the critic looked like. One person's imposter or critic looked like a witch,
Wow.
but that witch then held her hand out to her, walked her over to the mirror, and left her there and said, I'll be back. Because the critic's not going away. But I think the tangible thing in this piece for the women was, I can partner with that critic to understand what else is possible for me, but also understand that that imposter and the critic, typically the role is that they're telling you all the things that you can't do or that's not possible, because it's trying to protect you from the disappointment and the pain and the feelings of rejection and failure.
Mm.
And that's what a lot of people don't get. Like, that critic is coming up to say, like, no, 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 you don't want to do that. You're not good enough. Because if you thought you were good enough and then they tell you that, they're not going to pick you, then you're going to feel like bad about yourself. So don't do that. Like, I'm going to step in front of you. Don't do it. Don't look that way. Stay here where it's comfortable and you don't know what's going to happen. Like, we're certain we can stay here and feel caged, but what's out there is scarier. So don't do it. That's kind of like the work that we did. And I thought that that was like a huge breakthrough for a lot of these women, because they were able to see that those voices were only a part of them. It wasn't the whole of them. The other part was like, oh, well, you know what? The first thing I could do to start my own company is, like, maybe I'll just start building my website. Maybe I'll just start building a website to tell my own story, produce and write my own story. I had a producer who said, I'll say this quickly. She said, I think I'm really good at getting to the heart of a story. I think that's why people hire me and get and want me to produce for them. And I turned it to her and I said, what would it be like to get to the heart of your story and produce your own story?
Oh, that's a tough question.
What story do you want to tell on your website? How would you produce that? And that's when she was like, I saw, like, she answered the question, but she also, like, kind of woke up to the possibility that she could do this, what she's been doing for others for so long, she can now do for herself.
Wow.
So,
Let's talk about, this will be one of my last questions. I wanna talk
mhm,
about the idea that you just said, that maybe I walk away from this and I just start
mhm,
to tinker and work on my website. Maybe that
mhm,
is the action step I take.
mhm,
I, over the last 2 years, have become very supportive, or I like this idea of micro moments.
mhm.
So micro moments, that could be an epiphany you have about yourself.
Yes.
It could be an idea that you have for a social media post.
Mhm,
It could
mhm.
literally be a recipe that you wanna try for dinner. These
Right.
micro moments
Yes.
add up, and we put
Amen.
pressure on ourselves to have these big, bold, ideas and business ideas and personal ideas, and I'm gonna lose weight, so I'm gonna work out every day for 3 hours and
Right.
when in actuality, not only is it so much easier to take a walk 15 minutes a day, and when you're consistent, you'll probably see more results than killing yourself for 3 hours a day. And so this
Mhm.
idea of micro moments,
I love them.
I think that we need to discuss them more because I feel like
Yeah.
when, especially we as women, don't have the big idea, when
Right.
we don't have we compare a lot. "Oh, look at what she's
Yep.
doing. She's a
Right.
CEO or she just landed this gig, or she's
Mhm.
doing this." But there's something to be said, and I think we need to encourage each other as women that micro moments are just as successful.
Yes. I 100% agree, and I love micro moments. I will always credit you for micro moments. It's like, we said a lot, like, what's the smallest thing you can do? Not even small, but what's the one thing you could do when you get off of this session or when you, like, tomorrow when you wake up? What's the one thing that you can do? And I love that you're saying that. And I think you and I can commit to reminding each women and
Right.
reminding the people in our micro moments, because then we know that you like link them all together and it's like, okay, I did this and then I did this. And then you get to feel and be present with the joy that comes from that little breakthrough that you did something kind for yourself, that you even just wrote out, like, okay, I'm going to have 4 pages to my website, the about, the,
Mm,
the
mm.
services. Just do that. Just put it in your phone as you're like heading downtown or on a train, or and or just do a voice memo into your phone, but to just give yourself permission to see what else is possible. That's what those micro moments do, right? They're like going to build us and show us like where our power lies. And there's power in looking at something that you did, but there's also like get connected first to the feeling of doing those, having those micro moments. What did you feel in that moment? What came up in your body? Was there, excitement? Was there hesitancy? Just getting, like, again, this back to one. The micro moments is perfect because that is part of it, right? To connect to these things that we could do that just gives us a sense of ownership and allows us to see our creativity and just get again, it's like that connection to, like, oh, that's all I needed. That it doesn't have to be so big,
Doesn't have to be
that it can
monumental,
be
right?
at all. So I love that, and we talked a lot about that in the session, to give ourselves some grace. And you're
Mm.
right, we, especially Gen Xers, we grew up where like it was competitive, and your parents told
Yep.
you, the Boomers, the
Yep.
silence generation, they told us all those things, like you go and you get this, and like we're unlearning that. But here's the key: make it for yourself. Like you create your own back to one. There's no formula except we want to get you closer to your power, and your power is like that you get to, it's not about like, I'm strong. It's more about like, I'm human, I'm here. And I can say with confidence, like, I understand what my values are. I understand what I will stand for. And I'm just going to be comfortable in my skin and continue to be curious about who I am. So then I can be curious about the world and the world be curious about me.
I could talk about this for a long time, Tanya, long time. But I have 2 more questions. One,
Yes.
if somebody wants to contact you, if someone wants to be a part of Back to One, if somebody just wants to connect with you on LinkedIn, like how do we go about getting in touch with Tanya?
Yeah, very good question. The first place for coaching, I would say yourlifecoached@gmail.com. Just email me. So it's, my website is yourlifecoached.com. So yourlifecoached.com. You can reach me there for coaching. You can follow me at Your Life Coached on Instagram. I kind of dip with content. I'm kind of on TikTok. So those are places where I'm working with my imposter about creating content and constantly looking at that. But those are probably the best places. Social media, not so much LinkedIn. Email me directly. And the other thing to understand is if you want one-to-one coaching, I will do a discovery session for about like a half an hour where I just kind of get to know you a little bit and understand what you need. And that's at no charge. So that's just sort of like an overview. So we understand if we're right for each other
Mm.
as a coach. That's important too. I tell people, if I'm not the coach for you, keep looking for a coach, because I think coaching is revolutionary. And I think it's really helping people make shifts in their lives for the good.
I will say the few coaches that I've had, um, it's almost like therapy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, business coach,
Yep.
I had a marketing coach, like, it's a bit like therapy.
Yep. Because it's
Yes.
personal, right? It's like, I think people don't realize it. And then when they get to it, they're like, "Whoa, shoot. Like, oh, I didn't know I was talking about this." But a good coach will take care of you and help you in those spaces, because it's all about, whether it's business, like, get your money in order, because your power is in that. If I can get my money in order and like keep my financials, organized, then I feel good about
Mm.
myself. If the marketing message is on and is unique to me and authentic to me, then people will come because it's me. I got something to give. I have gifts. And if I get the message clear, people will find me and I will find them. So I think, again, coaching is like, it's incredible. And I love being a coach.
All right, last question. If there's
Mhm.
one limiting belief that
Mm,
you wish every creative would let go of today, what would it be?
mhm. What came up for me even before you finished the question was, I'm not enough. I think a lot of people just don't think they're good enough. So, like, the I'm not good enough, let it go.
Just because 'cause you're not getting booked doesn't mean you're not good enough.
Exactly. That's right. That's right.
Excellent. Well, Tanya, thank you so much. I really appreciate
Thank
you
you. Thank you
taking
for having
Yes,
me.
thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're busy, and
I love what you're doing.
thank you. Thank you very
You're
much.
you're amazing.
Uh,
You're a community builder. You're powerful, and you're doing exactly what I hope so many people can do. It doesn't have to be big, like you said. It could be micro, 3 people, but to, hold each other through life. Like, that's
mm,
what we really ultimately need to do.
agreed. Thank you for listening to the Building Doors podcast. This has been my conversation with Tanya Jones. And if you liked what you heard, buy us a coffee. I like frothy lattes. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/buildingdoors. All the funds collected at Buy Me a Coffee, which are nominal, $5, $7, $10, go directly to helping produce this podcast. So until the next time, let's build some doors together. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the Building Doors podcast. Want to hear more? Check out all our episodes at buildingdoorsvo.com/podcast and follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn at Building Doors VO. We'd love to hear from you, so call us on our 24/7 hotline at 216-307-1917 and leave us a voicemail with your thoughts. Do you want to support the podcast? Well, we love coffee. Buy us a cup through the link in the description or at buildingdoorsvo.com. Until next time, keep pushing forward, keep speaking up, and let's keep building doors together.